All right. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's 5:31, and I'll just say right off the bat, thank you guys for your patience with me tonight. I am doing this from a laptop, and usually I have two monitors, so it's a little bit more difficult doing it this way. But I appreciate everybody being here. We're going to go ahead and start with roll call. Um, Let's see. Is Amira on? Oh, she is. Amira, did you want to do roll call?
Absolutely. Give me 1 second.
No
Let me get
problem.
All right. I'm doing this on my laptop too, so I have to go back and forth from the document, so bear with me. Doug Mendenhall.
Oh,
No, Doug?
here. No, I don't see him.
Okay. Greg Kennerly.
Here.
Kathy.
Here.
Lisa.
Here.
John.
I think John was on. Yeah, he's on.
Yes.
John, can you unmute? Can you hear us? Send us a signal.
Okay, we'll wait for John, but Todd.
Yep.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay, perfect. John, if you can put something in the chat just to let us know that you can hear us, or come or turn your camera on or come off mute. We'll take any sign that you can hear us. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. If you get to a point, John, where you can chime in, feel free to do that. Okay, let me share my screen. Go ahead and put yourselves on mute, you guys, for the Pledge of Allegiance. It messes us up if we all try to do it remotely. So we're going to let the video do it for us. So just go ahead
Michaela,
and put yourself on mute.
I
Yeah.
can't, I'm not getting any audio for some reason.
Can you hear me? You can't hear me? Can
I'm not getting audio.
everybody give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Okay. Okay. So everyone can hear me maybe, but Kathy and maybe not John. Um,
Can you hear me?
oh, there we go. John's here. We can mark him present.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
Oh, did we lose Kathy? I think we
I
lost
think
Kathy.
I think
Okay.
so. I
I'll
should
let her
reboot.
back in when she joins. Oh, there she is right there. See if that fixes it for her. It's always fun. Technical difficulties when we do this online. Kathy, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can. Thank you. I just
Yay.
went out and came back. Thanks.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So go ahead, you guys, and put yourselves on mute for just a second. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic and one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I told you guys this is difficult from my laptop. Hopefully everybody could hear that playing. Oh, man. Okay. So let's go ahead. I'm going to pull the agenda up. Give me just a second to pull that up. Okay. There. Here we go. Okay, let me know if you guys can see the agenda. Can everybody see it? Yeah?
Yep,
Okay, cool.
kind of.
Here, let me make it bigger. Can you see it better now?
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, that got too big. Hold on.
Oh,
Go back.
there. Yeah, that's good enough.
Perfect. All right, so our first order of business is to review the draft minutes from January 20th. We had technical difficulties on that day, and apparently the video did not get recorded. However, we do have the minutes from that meeting. Hopefully everybody had a chance to take a look at that. Are there any changes needed to the minutes? Any corrections? No, no, no. Okay, if there are no changes, I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved. Kathy?
All right, Kathy made a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Was that Greg?
Yep.
Greg seconded. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? All right, minutes are passed. Okay, now we have the preventative maintenance report. Is Andre presenting that, or do we have somebody else presenting? Sorry, guys, I can't see everybody.
Sorry, Michaela, hold on just a second. Andre just got a call from Lisa at work, so
Oh, okay.
he's on there.
There we go.
Look
I'm
at that.
expanding this so I can see more of you people. Hold on. Oh, oops.
All right.
We can come back to the preventative maintenance report if he needs a few minutes.
He's back. He's
Okay.
back.
I'm back.
Perfect. Awesome.
Where's my computer?
It should be in the board packet. Hold on to me.
Yeah. I know we're within a total of for January, 9 were completed. And 9 were required, so we're at 100%.
Oh, okay. Perfect. That is short and sweet. There it is right here.
Yeah,
Are you
we
guys
found it.
able to see all of that on my screen, or is it showing the participants too?
I can see it all.
I can see it all.
Okay, good. Just making sure my other stuff is not getting in the way. Okay. Oh, that looks great. I love all that green.
Hey, staying on top of things.
Yeah, very good.
Nice job, Andre.
A miss in
Thank you.
a year. That's great, you guys. Anybody have any questions for Andre on the preventative maintenance report? All right. Okay, then we will move on. Do we have Jennifer Boardman on?
I am here.
Yay. Awesome. Jennifer, I think you are up. Let me just double check. Yep, ODOT update. Jennifer Boardman, that's you.
Yeah. I wanted to invite especially the staff to a training that we're having on Wednesday from 8:30 in the morning until noon. It's going over especially items with reporting and requirements, and we will also be talking a little bit about procurement, upcoming trainings, Title VI, and see what else do we have on there. Just a ton of information. The stiff rules, we're going to talk a little bit about that. And so I am going to pop in the chat the invite, and then you would just have to register for that training if you are going to attend. But it is from 8:30 in the morning until noon. So it is an all morning training, and we're going to be hitting it hard. The other thing I wanted to give you an update on, I had a meeting on Friday that I attended that had folks from both the FHWA, which is the Federal Highways Division, and then also the Federal Transportation Administration, FTA. And one of the questions that got asked during that meeting was they were trying to update their Title VI plan. It's the MPO here in Rogue Valley. And they were asking for advice as far as wording and making sure that they're staying compliant with executive orders and things. What the FTA and the FHWA said is when you're dealing with Title VI and you're dealing with ADA compliance, anything that is a law, those are things that we have to maintain the requirements the way that it's stated in the law. If it is something that is a rule, then those executive orders can override them. But at this point in time, we have not gotten direction from the FTA as far as any modifications. So what they advised the MPO in at Rogue Valley MPO and the Middle Rogue MPO was to continue with their plan the way that they have it until a time that we get administrative advice as far as making any kind of modification. So anything that's rule and is in law is a requirement to keep it the way that it currently is until we get a direction. And then I just wanted to give a heads up that your staff is doing fantastic on trying to get the items completed for the compliance. And we're heading towards the finish line of that hopefully soon. And let's see what other things. We are in the process of reviewing both the STIF plans and the formula plans. So the 5311 and 5310 funding. Hoping to have the majority of those in place by July 1. So lots of work going behind the scenes. We should have your guys' agreements to you probably the first part of May. Any
Perfect.
questions?
Is that Trump's executive orders? Is that what we're talking about?
It is, I'm talking about Title VI and ADA specifically, and those are law. And so executive orders are not, do not
Gotcha.
override the law. So just want to make sure that we are moving forward and understand that until we get direction from the FTA, because they just appointed a new FTA director. So I would imagine that we will be getting some direction going forward.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. That'll segue nicely into our resolution that we're going to be considering tonight. We do have a couple of things to do before we get to that. Did you have any other announcements, though?
I
Yeah.
don't. The only other thing that I had a little bit of concern about when I saw your agenda was just logo and branding and just the cost of that. But I talked to George and Sherry about that. And and we talked about that. So that was my only concern.
Awesome. Yeah, we actually have a pretty talented guy on our staff that can do that stuff. So I think the cost so far has definitely been minimal to look at that, but we'll be talking about it in just a
Yeah,
minute.
I was just looking at the cost of doing like vehicle wraps. When you're talking about having to rebrand something, then usually you're doing, getting new cards and new letterhead, and you have to get bus wraps that match and everything like that. So that's my area of concern is that with the financial situation that you're in currently, that to spend a whole lot of money on rebranding is probably not the wisest. But from what George and Sherry were saying, it's going to be vehicles that you get moving forward.
Yeah. I think that is on our agenda later tonight, so we will go through that in just a minute in more detail. If there is nothing else, then I'm going to go ahead and move to the financial report. So is Sherry available?
I'm here.
Yay.
I can turn my video back on. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
See your face.
Did everybody get a chance to take a look at the financial statement?
Yes.
Okay, is there any questions, or do you want me just to go through it? I can go through it quickly. The balance sheet showed that we had $767,332.89
in current assets, and our liabilities at the end of January were 89,855.20. So that was a total equity of 677,477.69. That's where we are. That's where we were at the end of January. We got all of our, the quarter and the fiscal year always look wonky because they don't include the cash on hand at the end of the fiscal year. Going into the first and second quarters, the P&Ls only capture what's actually received for that month or that quarter and what's gone out. It doesn't show what you had on hand prior. So at the end of January, we were 677,477 to the good. Right now we have 466,459 in the bank. We're at the end of February, so we have one more month to go for this quarter. So that 466 should carry us through the end of the quarter. We've been barely squeaking by, but we have been getting through the quarter, and we've been getting the STIF money to tide us over until we get our reimbursements. But we already did get our reimbursements for the second quarter. So the second quarter reports were due on February the 15th to ODOT. I got them in early and we've already gotten those reimbursements. So
You are
Good
amazing.
job.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. That's awesome. I'm trying to share you guys, and it's just so laggy that she's pretty much done, and I finally got it to the place that we needed to be. So sorry about that. Okay.
Yeah, so January we received our STIF funds, and then I just got our quarterly funds for Q2, and then in March we'll get our STIF funds for the next quarter. STIF funds always come up front at the beginning of the quarter, and reimbursements come. Oh, we got an echo. Sure. The federal funds come on a reimbursement. So anybody have any questions?
All right. I don't think there are any questions.
All right.
Thank you so much, Sherry.
You're welcome.
It's nice to hear, though, that we have enough money. But
Well, and ODOT put us back on quarterly reimbursements where we were doing monthly there for quite a few months.
yeah, that's a good
When
sign.
RLS first came out. Yeah. So we've been back on regular quarterly reporting and quarterly reimbursements, and we're squeaking by.
This is good news, though. Much better than
Yes.
we were. So thank you so much, Sherry, for all of your work. I know you guys have been working together really hard over there, and I just appreciate everything that you guys are doing because we've had to pull ourselves out of this, and it's because of all the work you guys are doing. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we are going to move on to public comment. Let's see. Let me check the chat box. If you would like to join public comment for on-agenda items only, go ahead and put your name in the chat and I will call on you. Or you can raise your hand if your video's on. No public comment out there? Oh, hold on. Did I get somebody? Nope. Oh, Bob has his hand up. Okay, Bob, yeah, can you come off of mute?
Yeah, I just wanted to, are you guys, this is to the whole board and everybody, okay? Are you guys trying to run a business and make it profitable?
So generally, public comment is for you to provide comment, and the board generally doesn't
I'm
respond to
asking a
questions.
question so
But-
I can make a comment.
But I do believe that the intent of this board is for us to continue to provide services in a fiscally responsible way. And we definitely have had sort of a change of things since our new CEO, Ben Edel, took over. He has a lot of business background, and I would say that we have moved a little bit more in that direction with the constraints that running a government agency, of course, has. And there are some constraints.
Okay, well, my point is, if you are, then we need to get rid of DEI, because the way to do this is hire the best person for the job. It doesn't matter if they're brown, black, white, blue, green, or purple, right? But you just need to get the best people for the job so that everything is run the way you need it run. And you need to follow executive orders and whatever to keep your funding.
Thank you so much, Bob. We appreciate your comment. Is there anybody else that wanted to speak? You can either put your hand up or put your name in the chat. Okay, if I'm missing anybody, you guys, please let me know, just because I can only see limited things on my screen, but I don't see anybody else for public comment. Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and move things along then. So the next agenda item is our Title VI LEP policy, and I believe George was going to present that. Let me know if I'm wrong, George.
Make sure, George, unmute yourself.
Thank you for saying that.
Sorry, everybody. I'm
There he
trying
is.
to unmute. Sorry, I was like frantically pushing the button. It just wasn't working.
No, it happened.
Okay, perfect. Well, I do have a speech prepared. Let me just pull it up. All right, so I'll be saying a prepared speech here today. So first, I want to say good evening to everyone. You know, I want to begin by acknowledging the Umpqua Public Transportation Board of Directors, the public, and the press for being here today. Your commitment and engagement are vital to the success of Umpqua Public Transit. When I stepped into this role, it became clear that UPTD was faced with significant financial challenges. I thank the board for approving an investigation to uncover the root cause of our financial instability, access and wrongdoing, and identifying lessons to drive meaningful change. Today, I'll share with you the findings of this investigation.
Oh, hold on just a second, George. We're on the Title VI policy. Sorry about that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The investigation is a little bit later on the agenda. I apologize for interrupting you.
That's okay. So with the Title VI, I apologize. With the Title VI, we did work on Title VI. Sherry provided a ton of information, and with the staff, we created the new policies and to be in compliance with ODOT. We ran those policy changes through ODOT, and we're ready to, I believe, present them. And I believe have all the board members received the updates on the policy changes to be compliant.
Is that the one that was included in the latest board packet?
Correct.
Okay, then I think we have received.
That's the right one.
Okay, so one of the things that I had sent a question out about, and
Any questions?
I don't think I received an answer to the question. I'm trying to get down to the policy. I'm sorry, it's very slow and laggy. But some of the maps on that policy, I believe, are labeled equity maps. Is that correct?
I'm
They
sorry.
are.
I'm only catching every
You're
other
on the
word.
drug and alcohol. I think you
You know
passed
what
it,
page it's on?
Michaela.
This is so hard to find.
I think you passed it.
Okay. Oh, wait, it should be up here. There it is.
There
Oh,
it is.
it's going way too fast. Okay, where was it? So, a couple of things. The maps that are on here that I'm trying to get to, I believe are labeled equity maps, which are not going to end up being consistent with our
They're
executive.
on page like 40 and 41. Sorry.
Thank you.
I was going to say after number 7, implementation plan.
Where is it? Okay, right here. Yeah, environmental equity service maps. Can we change that word equity to equality, maybe? Is there any reason why it needs to say equity?
I would have
I'm
to
sorry.
defer to ODOT for that.
I'm sorry, I'm only hearing every other word. What was that?
For all of these maps that are labeled as equity maps, is there any reason why they can't be labeled equality maps?
I think you could just have them as the title, people below 200% poverty. And then if you scroll back up to the one previous to that, Michaela, you just went past them. So if you scroll up to the other ones, I think if you just use the titles that are underneath or that are right above the maps would be fine, because it's just people below poverty threshold. So you should be able to just do it as Appendix E, people below poverty threshold.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think that would be more consistent with what we're seeing with the, federal direction. And if it's not required, there's no reason to have that in there. In my opinion, I don't know if anybody else has a comment on that.
I love it.
I think you can change it even if you wanted to have a title on there above, just census data, because it's basically census data that reflects non-white and non-Hispanic. It reflects poverty. It reflects other specifics on the census.
Okay, perfect. And then there was another thing that I had a question for George on the actual Title VI. Hold on, I'm trying to pull it up on my other device so I can speak to it intelligently. But I think we had additional groups added in the language that aren't specifically in that that act language. Did you happen to see my email on that, George?
I'm not sure what you're referring to. I'm sorry, could you refresh my memory?
Yeah, let me get to it so I can speak specifically to it. I believe it was right at the end of your policy. It might have been like the last statement. Oh, nope, it's not there. Where is it? You actually had signed your name, I think, below it. Where is it?
I believe it's Appendix A, Michaela.
Oh, thank you. Do you know what page that's on?
Page 31.
31. Okay. See, I was totally.
Yeah, it says no person in the United States shall, on the grounds of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination. So I think it was there was a couple of them that you wanted to know if they could be removed.
Well, and I actually don't have a problem with any of that being included. The only thing that I'm concerned about is that I don't believe that's what the Civil Rights Act of 1964 actually states. And so I just wanted to make sure that we're being factually correct in this, that it actually does include all of those.
No, it should only be 3: race, color, and national origin.
Thank you. And that's what I had thought. This was something that came up, I believe, in our compliance review when RLS came, and they actually had a problem with us adding additional protected classes or demographics, whatever you want to say. And so I was wondering, has something changed? Are we now including that in Title VI? Jennifer, I know you reviewed this, so I don't know if you have any insight into that.
I actually had our title. That's funny. We all actually had our Office of Civil Rights review it. And so this was one of the things that they had required us to add in the past. But RLS, we have to stick with what the Title VI actually says. And so it should only be the 3 protected classes. And you can actually just take that wording, which I think you have it on your documents that you list in your, I believe you have your Title VI on all of your shelters and in your
We do.
facility itself.
Yeah, we went through and updated all of those, and we had to specifically limit it to what you're talking about. So that's why I thought it was surprising when this came back in, because it's what we had before, but then we got marked down on the complaint.
Michaela,
Yeah.
I am reading the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was intended to end discrimination based on race, color, religion, or national origin.
Mm-hmm.
Not religion is not. This is what it should say.
I'm reading it.
Race, color, and national origin. And, you know, I had to dig into this a little bit because Wikipedia says something that the actual document doesn't say. I actually went to the document for the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to read what it said. But then I thought, well, maybe they've rolled things into it since then and I'm just not aware, and they still call it that. But if Jennifer's saying that we're limited to those 3 things for the Title VI, then I think we probably should just remove that wording.
I agree, because everywhere you look online, it's listing everything. But like you said, I think that could just be interpretation based on, you know, like the Bible, based on personal stance or whatever.
Right. And we could certainly do another policy that says we don't discriminate based off of these other things either. I mean, I think everyone on this board, you know, would agree that we do not want to be discriminatory in any way. But the Civil Rights Act is specific to those 3 things.
But then do we also have to have the ADA on there as well? The disability, the age, and the limited English?
That's Jennifer, do you know? I don't know.
So on the Title VI plan, some people do put that in there, but the Title VI plan itself has to just have those 3 protected classes in it. So some people combine their Title VI and their ADA, but they have it in separate sections. So you can't smush it together, which I'm going to have to talk to Carol Cottingham about this because I did not review it after he did, and find out if he's saying that for all of the agencies. So I will have to double check on that. But no, you want to have separate. You can't smush it together because they are different classes that are protected by the different laws or rules.
So, are we going to be out of compliance if we just table this until the next meeting, Jennifer? Or is that, I mean, is that okay if we wait until the next meeting to make sure that we have the correct changes in here?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
As long as you're working on it.
Okay. So if the board is in agreement with that, then I would entertain a motion to table this change until next meeting.
Agreed.
Yes, because in the Title VI, we do have some areas where it talks about respect civil and ADA rights, and then it lists all of them. And then in some, it just lists the Title VI, the Civil Rights Act by itself. So I think we just need to make sure that
Just separate them.
We're only listing those, the race, color, national origin under the civil, and then the ADA under the 88 portion.
Yeah. It seems a little bit ridiculous. Like if we're in compliance with everything, it seems like you should be able to just put them in the same document. But I know RLS had a problem with it last summer when we went through this. So it's like I just don't want us to be in, the same situation again.
And I think part of the reason behind that is there's different protections for the folks that are under Title VI than there are from the people that are under ADA. So you could have an ADA person with Title VI rights, and those can be combined, but there could be somebody who just falls under the race, color, national origin, and then there could be somebody who's just handicapped. So, yeah, so that's part of the reasoning, I think.
Okay.
But again, I would have to double check with RLS to find out what their reasoning is, but that's my understanding.
Well, and then you have the limited English proficiency that we also have to make sure that, we do that census reporting.
Correct.
Is that a separate policy or is that part of Title VI?
No, it's under the race. Yeah.
Okay. That's under Title VI then. That's fine to stay in there.
Yes, that's one of the requirements.
Okay. So we're going to want to table this. We're going to remove those titles from the maps. We're going to separate the ADA and the Title VI. The LEP will stay in there with Title VI, and then we'll come back next month and talk about this again. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to table this until next month.
So moved.
Okay, Kathy made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Yep.
Lisa.
Seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thanks, Todd. Okay, perfect. And thank you, George, for all your work on that. I'm really sorry that we're having to go back and revisit it again. It's just one of those things,
It's totally fine. Policies are always evolving, and like one thing you'll hear from me, just tell me what to write.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate
it's
you so much.
complicated.
You've done so much work, and I know it's been a huge pain, and we've had a lot of cleaning up to do.
No problem.
All right. Oops, I lost my agenda. Where is it? We're at. Okay, so we have new business. We're going to move right into the resolution adopting latest presidential executive orders. Can somebody tell me what page that is on if you guys have it in front of you?
I don't see the page numbers, but it's right after where you were with the maps.
It's page 50, sorry.
Thank you so much. Okay. Easier if I just jump over here. Okay. So this is a resolution basically proposing that we write our policies by May of this year to be in compliance with 4 different executive orders that were issued by President Trump. The first one is Executive Order 14-148, which is the initial rescission of harmful executive orders and actions. That executive order rescinds certain diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, environmental regulations, and other actions. Executive Order 14170, reforming the federal hiring process and restoring merit to government services, which emphasizes merit-based hiring and prohibits certain discriminatory practices. Executive Order 11246, which is the ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunity, which revokes prior affirmative action obligations for federal contractors and prohibits certain DE&I programs. And Executive Order 11991, which is unleashing American energy, which rescinds certain environmental regulations and prioritizes energy development. So this resolution basically acknowledges that we have changes coming from the federal government that is going to end up impacting our ability to receive federal funds. So the first major change is just that the chief executive officer or their designee is hereby authorized and directed to immediately review all UPTD policies, procedures, and practices to identify and remove language or provisions that are inconsistent with these executive orders. This would give the CEO until May. Hold on, let me see, where is it? I believe it is.
I think it's May 12th. It says on there.
Yeah, until May 12th to make these changes. And as we know and as we've heard, there are developments. The federal government's working, with the states right now. There are law changes that are happening. This resolution would allow us to act quickly to make sure that we are in compliance with these changes as they come. I'm not going to read through the entire thing. I think everybody's had an opportunity to read it. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
Well, the one thing that this is Todd, the one thing that I would, want to be aware of, perhaps based on what Jennifer said earlier, was that, and this is how I understood what she said, was that if a federal or a presidential executive order is in contradiction to state law, that the state law would take precedence. Is it what, did I understand that correctly, Jennifer?
I was talking specifically about federal law because most of the money that you get is dealing with federal funding. So the federal laws are not impacted by the executive orders until there is change by Congress and the House. So it's the federal law. However, there is state sovereignty rights within some states, but I have a feeling that there could be some impacts eventually if states do not fall in line with the executive orders. So right now, I was specifically talking about federal law. So Title VI, ADA, those are laws. We have to follow them the way that they are written currently.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions out there? Does anybody want to read through this any further? I'm trying to pull your guys' faces up again. I can't see anything.
Michaela, I can say one other thing that the FTA and FHWA said was, if you are concerned about some of the language specifically around DEI, a lot of it has to do with just collapse. You can utilize language such as collaboration and coordination. So coordination with stakeholders, if you're talking about specifically working with groups. So you can make it broader because you don't discriminate, against different folks without hemming yourself into a policy like a DEI policy. So utilizing wording more like collaboration and coordination and working with stakeholders and those kind of words. If you have those in your policy that allows you to still collaborate with other individuals, but doesn't hem you into the confines of what the DEI kind of did.
I love that idea.
Yeah, I do too. Do you mind if I comment?
Go ahead.
Michaela?
Yes.
I was just going to say that I think that the spirit behind this action is really powerful. It makes a statement. It returns our district fully back to a position that the majority of the taxpayers in our district are fully behind. It also gives us the opportunity, as things are changing very quickly at the federal government level, that we then can just adopt those changing requirements as it happens between now and the period of time in May that the board gives us. So it offers a lot of flexibility, and it eliminates something that politically, none of us are down with. But I love what Jennifer's saying, that we can take those words, the language that we're opposed to using, and the language that the Trump administration is opposed to using, and replace that with language that actually is more inclusive, actually doesn't look at race and individual aspects of a person that they don't choose or can't change. And I think it actually creates a lot more of a welcoming policy platform. So, I'm for this, and I don't think that I think that there's ways that we can do this to where we don't risk, backlash from the state. And I think that especially with George on board, I think that we can really get the wording correct and achieve what the board is looking to achieve here, which I fully support.
Michaela?
Yes.
Can I say, I read it. I actually thought what Jennifer said was what we were doing by what I read.
That's what I understand too.
I appreciate that Jennifer threw that in, because that's how I read what we are stating in this. So I think I'm all
right. I did invite George to speak on this since he's our compliance manager. Of course, we want to hear his opinion. Go ahead, George.
Yes, thank you. So I agree with a lot of things that are being said. I have strong personal feelings about DEI that I'm not going to share, but I will say, from the compliance standpoint, is that we need to be careful that words matter, especially in the law and how it's interpreted. And what I would recommend is that we work with the Trump administration and with our federal partners to see what language and how they're positioning that language, so that way we can be in really close alignment with them. That way we don't have to kind of go back and change anything, and to see how and how they're sort of like connecting the dots. And so that would be my recommendation. One, I think that would be really great strategy also, to be able to build a better bond with the federal government, and then being able to understand some of our challenges and the rural areas of Oregon. And so that we have better partners on the federal level to provide us with additional opportunities outside of also collaborating on the DEI language. And that would be my recommendation.
That sounds good.
Yeah, and I'd like to also add that George and I both have connections in Trump's administration, and mainly George has a lot of connections in Congress. And so I think with the time that you're giving us, and with the feedback from Jennifer, which is really in alignment with the spirit of the resolution, I think that we'll be able to leverage some of these relationships to just make sure that what George is saying, just make sure that we're not going back and redoing things and guessing or getting ahead of our president. I don't want to get ahead of our president, but the way that this resolution is written out, we actually have the time to not get ahead, but to stay in alignment. And I think that's a really great aspect of this resolution. So for me, the spirit is in line with our beliefs as a board and as a executive team. And I think that we're going to have the time to be able to do it and not get ahead of President Trump, but to be in alignment quickly. And I think that's a big thing and a big statement to make for an Oregon special district, that we're ready to move quickly to meet the requirements as they're changing through the FTA under Trump's administration.
Absolutely. And I think what would probably be a good idea going forward if this resolution is passed is just that we do have the understanding that our CEO and our compliance manager will be working very closely together, that changes will be very thoughtful, that they will be in alignment with developments as they come. This is, this hasn't happened before. We're sort of in uncharted waters, and we just want to be able to have that flexibility of changing and staying in compliance, while at the same time, making those changes, quickly to be in compliance as they come up. So that would be my recommendation to the board if this is passed. Are there any other board members that would like to weigh in on this before we consider a motion?
Well, the one thing I would say from working with the forest issues and the environmental groups and a lot of the forest management stuff that I did, there is a difference between coordination and collaboration. And I think George mentioned earlier that the language is really important. So if either of those words are being used in this context, I would look at the difference between what the two words actually mean.
I think those words were just brought up by Jennifer, just regarding how we should approach changing any policies. I'm not sure that those words are specifically in the resolution, although I would have to check.
And the resolution gives us the flexibility to be able to achieve the mission of the resolution while remaining in compliance. I also just one more thing I think is really worth just stating on the record in case this action by the board gets twisted politically, which obviously that can happen. Since the board since the board was restructured and I was hired as the CEO, the UPTD actually hired its first two people who are not white. And a board member joined who is not white. And we have I think that what's really great about this is that the people that have come on board are people that are extraordinary, and it doesn't even we don't even look at it. It's not even an issue. It doesn't matter, and because it doesn't matter, look what happened at the UPTD. It became more diverse, and it became better in the process. Not because of somebody's skin color, but because of their capabilities and because of their merit. We are frankly lucky to have those people on our team working with us because they're contributing to the success of the district in a considerable way. And so I just think it's important that is on the record.
Thank you so much for that.
Hey, Kayla, could I comment on that,
George,
please?
go ahead. Yeah.
So I want to comment on what Ben said because I think it's very important, especially since I know Ben's talking about me.
And Amira's North African.
Yeah.
Egyptian.
Egyptian.
Yes.
Which to me is North Africa. And not white.
So for the fact of making sure that the public is clear and that the media is clear, is that there is a difference between affirmative action and DEI. And I think where in our polarizing politics of today and how this language has been used in different contents and sometimes even weaponized, I think as a country, we're asking for clear communication on what is the difference between affirmative action and what diversity, equity, and equality, truly mean. And I think that there's a place for language in the appropriate places. And I think here, what we're talking about is making sure that we understand that we're not taking anything away. We're actually opening up opportunity, and we're giving proper, clear communication of what we're talking about and how we're trying to provide those services to all Americans in this country. And so I just wanted to say that and put that on the record because I do believe that Umpqua is going. But let's be clear that this doesn't get twisted, because it's not us that is on the wrong path. We're actually trying to get on the right path and making sure that we're meeting the needs of the public and how they need government to function. So I just wanted to say, I wanted to
Thank
put
you,
that there.
George. Yeah, thank you so much for saying that, because I do believe that that is the spirit of this 100%. We want the services of Umpqua Public Transportation District to be available to everyone, regardless, to everyone. You don't need qualifiers. We want
Right.
everyone to be able to ride public transit, and ride it
Well,
safely. And yes.
That's the reason why I want people to understand the differences, because affirmative action is race based, and equity is not. Like, the services that Umpqua provides is to provide a level of equity. That's the reason why we have ramps. That's the reason why we have handrails, and all of this political noise has overshadowed the true meaning of what equity is. Equity is not race-based. Equity is providing services to people so that way they can utilize our services. And so that's where it's like, I really want the proper definition, the proper language to be used, and not to be used as a political pawn.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
I think what I hear you saying, George, is that equity, the word itself, was hijacked in a way by all sides. It may have proper placement, but the great part about this resolution is we get to determine what that placement looks like, and we get to achieve the vision of our president, and also achieve the vision of our country, our founding fathers, because that's also a big piece of this, without confusion and without obfuscation. And George, I know you're the man for the job, because you are a wordsmith. I'll tell you that right now.
Greg, did you have something to say?
Me?
Yeah, I just saw you come off mute. Did you have anything to add?
No, I shouldn't have been on mute. No, I totally agree. Yeah.
I wasn't trying to put you on the spot. I just saw you come off mute.
Yeah. Well, it's all really affected law enforcement. I can't even start to begin with that. So everything you're saying.
All right. Well, if there's no further discussion, I will entertain a motion to accept the resolution as proposed.
Michaela, I looked in the records and it needs to be resolution 25-01.
Thank you. See,
For
I
the
left
record.
that blank because I knew somebody would figure that out.
Yeah. So
2501. Okay, perfect. All right. Do I have a motion to pass resolution 2501?
Yes.
That is Greg made a motion. Do I have a second?
Yes, Kathy.
Kathy seconded. All right. All those in favor, say aye.
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 And all those opposed, say nay. Okay, it looks like that passed unanimously. Thank you guys very much. Hold on, I got to get back to my screen though. Agenda. Okay, we are going to move on to 9.2, adopt modifications to drug and alcohol policy. Okay, there are a few changes. I don't know if people had a chance to look at that. Everything that's being changed is highlighted. If you want to let me know which page to go to, I can pull that up. But who is speaking to this one?
I can speak to this if you'd like.
Okay.
I think
So
it's
this
page
is-
55,
Thank you.
Michaela. 55.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, go ahead, Ben.
Basically, we have our drug and alcohol policy is generally fine. The issue that we do have is that we've added extra policies that in some ways may prevent great people from joining our district and contributing to its success when they're not safety labeled as safety personnel through the FTA. And that means that drug testing and other tests that are invasive to privacy, especially in Oregon, where we have legalized certain things that the FTA requires testing for, it actually creates an issue where potentially good people who could work at the district who are not safety sensitive, by definition of the FTA, can't work here. And I think that we should have exactly the required compliance so that we just have that less red tape that we may have to face in the future as a district. And that's really what this is about. It's about testing safety sensitive employees only, and not testing employees that are not safety sensitive. And then, of course, there's some language modifications that don't have a significant impact.
I'll open it up if anybody has questions to bring those up. I have a question about something, but I'm trying to find it really quickly. Does anybody have any questions for Ben on that?
I have one question. Is it when we were talking about this before, when Cheryl was still leading, it seemed like there were some like Cheryl, for instance, as a person that wasn't necessarily in a position unless she was needed to drive or something. And so is that being taken into consideration for the modifications you're doing?
So
yeah,
she
the answer is,
had a
oh, go ahead,
CD
sorry.
Well, she had her license and was actually able to drive the buses if necessary.
Right.
And I think that's why she was being added into that pool, because of the potential for her to jump in.
Well, and there might be that kind of person in the future too. That's what I mean. That's why the only reason why I asked.
I think that's a great call out, that this isn't necessarily by position, but do they fill in those safety sensitive positions at any point, or can they? Is that what you're saying?
Basically, yeah. I think Ben, you were gonna answer too. So
yeah, can you? You're saying yes. So if I'm understanding you correctly, and please clarify if I'm wrong, but basically anybody that has a license to the CDL licensing, the passenger licensing, any of that stuff, they're all safety sensitive by definition. And so in no way, shape, or form, for example, I can't drive a bus with people on it. I've also been, I don't use any chemicals whatsoever. Anyway, but that's not the issue. The issue is that when we have staff on our team, and we want to make sure that we don't have those hangups, but they are not safety sensitive employees. They do not have the ability to drive buses or vehicles for the district.
According to the FTA also, so they have pretty clear guidelines. So it's like your transit CDL drivers, any of our drivers that like our paratransit, the van drivers, all of them have to be drug tested through the FTA. Also, like our dispatch personnel, because they are controlling the movement of a vehicle. So if they're controlling the movement of a vehicle, or they're driving a vehicle, if we had our own on-site like mechanic who's fixing those vehicles, they would also have to be included in it. Like Andre, since he's in charge of the fleet, he would fall under the FTA guidelines as well. So there was very specific guidelines for who's considered safety sensitive and who's not, and we just had like a whole bunch of other ones thrown in there that were being done.
Okay.
And then also on page 75, Michaela, there was a section of the drug and alcohol policy. When I was going through this with a fine-tooth comb, there was a section that was like missing, like it cut off mid-paragraph, and then there was like a whole section missing. And I was able to find that information and get it put back in. So it starts on 75, I believe.
And I don't want to go too far, because I think we have some employee names possibly. Is it names, or is it just positions? I don't really want to.
It's just positions. We took all the names off. That is not a requirement.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think that needs to be part of a policy. That's more of, the procedure or whatever for you guys to work out. But I wasn't going to show that on the screen just to, make sure we're protecting employee privacy. There was one other thing in here though that I did have a question about. I'm not seeing it in here. Sherry, maybe you know where it is. It was about having the testing done and being required to like lift your shirt and to pull your pants down and face somebody, which I thought was very sort of an invasive sort of testing.
There is a test that is a requirement. And that was, I believe it was missing. But it is a test that can be required to be done. We normally would not do a test like that, but there are instances that the FTA says that they have to be done. So that language, I believe, was missing before.
Is that for weapons?
That's a federal thing, because when I worked for the Forest Service, I had to take a test like that.
Seriously? That just seems so invasive.
Are they checking for weapons? Is that what it was? Or what was
No, to make sure you're not like diluting your urine or anything like that.
Oh, during
Like you're,
the test.
yeah.
Oh, well, that should be pretty clear that there are doctor or nurses there.
And that can also be included if you're under guidance under the SAP. If you had a positive test before and you're under the program, the SAP can request that you have a monitored drug test.
Mm-hmm. That's what they call it, a monitored drug test.
Yes.
Okay. And we're confident that's a requirement.
Absolutely. Yeah, we just went through our drug and alcohol with Sean from RLS, and that was, it wasn't verbiage that wasn't in our policy, but it was something that was discussed.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're not putting our employees through anything that we don't have to put them through.
No, usually this would be under a positive test, and the SAP had requested it because they're on a follow-up kind of test. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and let me just state, like, these are extreme, cases, and also too, we are not the ones that are doing it, right? We have a subcontractor that performs at the lab and things of that nature. So it's not like,
Yeah. Okay.
An employee is going to tell, an employee like, hey, drop your pants, pull up your shirt. And that's not going to happen.
Right. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay. Any other questions on this policy before we make a motion to adopt it?
Michaela, I didn't know if you guys were going to discuss the DAPA position.
Is that
I
part
know
of
you
the we need to make? That would be helpful if I went to the first page, huh?
Well, it doesn't, the policy just calls out that someone has to be considered the DAPM. It doesn't mention a name. I think we need to keep names out of the policies, because if somebody leaves and then someone else is appointed, then
I agree with you, because we have had to do this
we
so
have to
many
keep
times as a board.
updating.
I don't feel like this is a decision that the board needs to make. So do we
George
need
is
to
currently the DAPM, and I know we discussed making me the DAPM, just because I'm on site and work with the two DERs every day.
Is it possible to just state in our drug and alcohol policy that the CEO makes those determinations for the DAPM and the DER?
Maybe Jennifer knows. I don't even know if the board has to make that decision, or if that's just something that the general manager assigns.
Yeah, it should be. If you have it as a position, then you would take that away from the board having to do that. The only time that you would probably have to make a modification is if you change the position title who is holding that. So then you might be required to update your policy itself. But like Sherry suggested, I would say that it would put it as a position, not a person, and that way you don't have to keep updating that.
Okay, so that's how it's written right now, Sherry. It's written so that it's just a position.
It does not, it just says the DAPM. It doesn't specifically say who the DAPM is. It just says the DAPM.
I would recommend just leaving it as the DAPM. I mean, it's the requirement is that we have one. There's nothing in the language that I can see that requires us to identify who that is or a position. As an
Okay.
agency, we have to have a DAPM, and I think we leave it open. That gives Ben the opportunity to make that decision as a CEO, as who does he want as a DAPM and as a DERS.
That's the way I want it to be. Thank you, George. So we're good. We can make a motion to accept this and that will have that effect, correct? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Then if there's no other discussion, I will entertain a motion to approve the modifications to the drug and alcohol policy.
That sounds good.
Okay, Greg made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
John seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Okay. That motion has passed. Okay, let me get back up to the top. Oops. Thank you for your patience, everyone. I know I'm a little slow today. Okay, budget committee meeting. Okay, so we do have our budget committee that needs to be formed again to discuss our budget for next year. Who is providing updates on the budget committee?
I can provide just some update on it. I've reached out because historically we've had stiff stack committee members that have been on it. I've gotten most of them that were on it last year. I reached out to them and they were like, it was maybe like their first or second year. And I think the stiff stack committee bylaws say that they sign up for a 3-year. So I have several positions that are already accounted for, but we have to have, since we have 7 board members, we have to have 7 budget committee members as well.
Okay.
So I was just waiting to hear back from one other lady, and then I will put it out to the new stiff stack committee and see if we can get some volunteers from them. But
Okay.
I'd like to get a meeting set up maybe for late March, possibly, at least have our first one.
Okay, and then are we allowed to have staff members as budget committee members?
I don't think so. I think like I can present and I can work on it, but I think it has to be.
Has to be public.
Yeah, it has to be the public. I think it has to be, if we have 7 board members, we have to have 7 public members.
They need to be appointed.
Okay, so staff members can't even do it on a volunteer basis. They're excluded. Like as a
I believe so.
That would be a conflict of interest because you're creating a budget for a place that you're working at.
Okay. That makes sense.
So I will try to get the applications out to the other stiff stack committee members and get them to fill them out, and so that you guys can approve them at the next board meeting. Or
Okay, and can
appoint them.
Should we maybe put something in the paper, announcing that we have vacancies, or maybe on social
Yes,
media?
I'll have Amira do that. We can put it on our website as well.
Okay.
But I was just waiting to see how many positions we were going to have open. So I should be able to tie that down by the end of the week.
And when do we need to have our first budget committee meeting?
Historically, I think we've done them in April and May. We usually try to do 2 in April, 2 in May, possibly, so that we can get the budget finalized so the board can approve it and adopt it in June before the July 1 deadline.
Sherry, would you mind, or maybe Amira can do this, but can somebody set those meeting dates? We need to have 4 meetings. Is that correct? 2 in April, 2 in May.
We don't have to have 4. It just depends on
on if
Just
we get it
depends on
done
the-
or not.
Yeah, if we get it done and if they make a recommendation, like, so if we have a meeting in April and then the recommendations go to the board and the board changes them, then we would have to go back.
Okay.
I'm not,
Typically, what happens is the staff will prepare the budget. Then the budget committee, they present it to the budget committee. And then they give a period of time, a week, 2 weeks, for the budget committee to review and ask any questions. And then they come back and then they vote on it. And then that goes to the board for final vote is typically what happens. So most agencies have 2 meetings, one where it's just informational, providing all that data on what the budget is supposed to be. The second one is where they actually adopt it or make a recommendation to send it forward to the board.
Okay, perfect. So I think we should at least get 2 meetings on the schedule just so that we have them. I just don't want to lose track of our timing on this to make sure that we have our budget in time. But if we could maybe set those on the people that we know, so the board members, I guess for now, set those on the schedule, just maybe 2 meetings in April. And then at the next board meeting, we can approve the remaining budget committee members. But those dates will already be set.
yeah, we have to go through a process too. I think we have to go have them posted through the news review, through the legal notices. We have to do actual budget hearing notices. So they're slightly different, but I can walk Amira through that process.
Okay. And if we're doing those legal notices, I don't believe that I'll have to double check our bylaws, but I don't believe that those postings require the 2-week time period that we have for board members. Let's double check that because that's a significant expense to put that ad in as a legal notice into the news review for 2 weeks. I want to say it's like $1,200.
Yeah, we don't have to post it for 2 weeks straight. We just have to post it one time.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and then of
That's
course
what
we'll
we've done
post the meeting.
in the past.
Okay,
Yep, and then they'll send us a confirmation, like an affidavit that says that, it was posted on this day so that we have it for our records.
perfect. Okay. So, Sherry, are you or Amira going to take on scheduling those meetings?
I'll work with Amira on it.
Okay,
We'll both get it done. I'll
okay,
work with her.
perfect. I just didn't want it to be up in the air about who was doing it. Okay, any other questions on the budget committee, or we can move on to 9.4? No? Okay, 9.4, funding diversification process. Who is taking this one on?
I think I can probably get it started, and if George wants to weigh in, he's absolutely welcome in my book. But basically we're still closing out a lot of the compliance issues. So that's been really the main focus this last tranche of time since the last meeting. But we're getting out of that and we're getting it dialed in. And so I've begun reaching out to some of our local officials. We've reached out to our state rep, Virgil Osborne, and reached out to one of our commissioners in Douglas County. And I'm going to start visiting some town city halls meetings in Roseburg and in the surrounding area that we're serving, and just start to build relationships with our local officials, to try to diversify that funding. I think that the resolution that was just passed is also going to provide some opportunities to get connected with the federal government in some certain ways. I've reached out to someone on Trump's cabinet, and we're just looking for ways to get additional funding from different sources. We're also working with the college locally. And right now in that process, we're waiting for their final art to come in. We've got some like preliminary draft designs for the advertising deal that we're putting together, and we just need finalized art and some finalized assets from them, and then we'll be able to start moving forward with that. But their board has approved our deal, and I'm really excited for that. I think that's one of the best, fastest ways that we can diversify our funding is by generating it through our advertising inventory, which we have a lot of. We just aren't utilizing it. So that program is being developed alongside UCC and as a kind of beta customer. And I've evaluated our current program, and our current program is, not very professional from the standpoint of like what I would be used to if I were to engage with a company that was selling advertising. And so there's actually a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done. And I would be building this program from the ground up. It really truly is, a ditch and rebuild. But I think that we're going to be offering our community partners, whether they're private or publicly funded partners, a really great value and lots of opportunities, not only outside on our facilities, our bus stop facilities, or on our bus facilities, but also inside of our bus facilities, there's opportunities to put advertisements and other things that people see. So, we understand our demographic pretty well, and so it just becomes building the program and then finding the correct, the right match for our advertisers. And so I think that's what we're working on there. So there's a number of things. George is also connected federally, and so I think he can play a very strong role in diversification of funding as well. And then, of course, as we're continuing to strengthen the organizational structure, our ultimate goal is to help get Sherry, or our CFO position, in a position to where that role is really focused on the grants and other things that we can become party to. The issues that really have stopped us from the grant side we've been out of compliance for years. And so, fixing that compliance issue really is core to diversifying some of our funds. But, the district needs better facilities. Our buses are old, they're worn out, they're not very efficiently designed. They're not the correct buses for the community. And so, there's a lot of things that we'd like to see in the future, but a lot of this is the plumbing and the foundation and all that. And it's not the fun stuff like the kitchen, the surface of a new kitchen. We're getting there, but we're laying it down. So I don't know if George, if you have anything to add to that, pop in. If you don't, there you go.
I'm waiting to see.
No, I don't have too much to say. What I would say is that this is going to be a challenge when we think about diversification and how we work with the federal government, simply because what cuts are being made and how will that impact rural districts. And I think that we have to be really strong in our advocacy. One thing, it's no secret, right? Like metro areas typically get more funding than rural areas. And I think that we need to take a very proactive approach in talking with Congress and also getting to the president of, if you're going to be cutting back, make sure that you're not taking those cuts to us and maybe even allocating those assets to rural districts, especially when it comes to transportation. And so my recommendation is that we take a very proactive approach to reaching out to those key legislature, especially in relation to transportation at the federal level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a lot of things to consider for our funding coming up. Anyway, thank you very much, Ben, for everything that you've done. I do want to acknowledge that you are building this from the ground up. We had an advertising program, I guess, in place when you started. However, it is very minimal, income that we were bringing in, very minimal art that we were able to offer on our side. And what we're talking about doing is something that has not been done before. It's actually, well, it's been done in other places, but it's never been done in Roseburg or in Douglas County. And I think that it's going to generate a lot of interest when the college has their bus and people around town start seeing that. And I think that it will generate additional revenue for us. So thank you very much for all the work that you've done on that. That kind of segues into our next item, which is the new logo and branding. I assume we'll probably have an opportunity to use that new logo and branding when we're doing these buses, but I'm going to turn that back over to you, Ben. I believe that is your topic.
Yeah, and if you want, I don't know if you want to allow me to share screen, but I can show some real basic stuff about the logo and the palette. We are building out, I think, to build a brand. It's actually it's a lot more in depth than what I'm going to show you. I just have an image to give you a look at the logo and how we'd like to modify it, and expanding the color palette so that we can convey more, just more emotion, more visual language around what we're about. And I think that it's incredibly important for government agencies to have a strong brand that's authentic and that reflects the community. And I think that from a public relations standpoint, it's really, really critical. And I'll share screen and show you guys the very basics. What's that?
I made you co-host. You should be able to share.
Okay, let me see here. Where am I? Share screen, share screen. Oh, there it is. Let's see. Here we go. Screen 2. I got 3 screens, so I got to pick the right one. All right, very good. So, can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay. So when considering a new look, which really drives a new feel and a new culture that we're developing at UPTD, I really wanted to keep the basic elements of the logo that we've had with the 2 mountains. And I wanted to soften up the edges and keep it very simple, and keep it as similar and as close to the current logo as we can. And we've done that with the 2 arrows pointing up, and that also is representative with the 2 mountains. I went with a different font. I kept that sort of modern attempt of the old logo, to kind of have this modern look to it, but again, it's rounded, it's more approachable, it's softer, it looks more like a road in terms of the line art of up. And of course, the big thing is referring to the district as up. So you would take up, if you were going to use Umpqua Public Transit system, you would take up. You would pick, and we can play a lot around with slogans and things like that to drive ridership, like we'll pick you up, or moving up. I don't know. There's lots of things that we can play with. So also shorthanding it to Umpqua Public Transit. And one of the issues we have is we have a URL that's different from our emails URL, and we have we're the Umpqua Public Transit District, and we're Umpqua Public Transit. But I like up. I like using this. I think it simplifies it and it's catchy. And I think it will help us build better relationship with new riders and new potential riders. Expanded the color palette to basically the dark green that we have and the dark blue that we have, but added a light shade as well to have maybe bring in a little more of the feminine feel when we want to do that. I think it creates some, just more attractive, having some depth with that shade. This is how we've used the shade in the logo. And then of course we have the grays and the darks. The lighter black is great for a more appealing, when you're reading the website and stuff like that. I'm going to look here at, let's see, let me show you something else. I'm going to bring in. There we go. No, wrong one. Wrong one. There it is.
Ben,
So like,
can you, can you drop it? I don't know why my screen is cutting off the top there. Okay, thank you.
yeah, you bet. This is another variation of the logo with the full corporate name on it, that we could use in certain letterheads and things like that. But maintaining the two mountains, the arrow pointing up, the arrows pointing up, is what this is for. So we have two different variations. A stack and then more of a horizontal looking one. And you can also put the mountains onto the side if we wanted to, but those rules haven't been defined yet. But this is the logo we'd like to see. Pretty inexpensively, we have multiple, one of the problems we have right now too, is we have multiple bus stop signs with different names of bus agencies, transit agencies. We have UTrans bus stops, we have Umpqua Public Transit bus stops. And so I think we can use vinyl stickers over the top of signs that we can put over the top and place over the top, so we have some consistency. There's also, I don't think we need to move into like full wraps on buses, but pretty inexpensively we can utilize vinyl patches to go over the top of current logos on the bus. We don't have to change much. And then of course, when we get new buses, we can really start to play with the real look and feel as we move forward. But I do want to show, let's see here. That's not it. Well, the old logo I was going to pull up just to show, but I'm trying to see where I might have it at the office computer. Yeah, it looks like it's there, but I'll just pull in this. It just gives you an idea of like side by side, which I didn't really put together, but this is very sharp, and sharp is pointy, and I don't think we need to be sharp. I think we need to be welcoming and warm. So it's a totally different look.
It does look a little bit dated when you look at the old one up against the new one.
Yeah, it's an attempt to be modern here, but it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And it also gives us, it just creates, we have BART, we have TriMet, we have all these different transit agencies that have a catchy, fun name. And I think it's one of the gateways that people actually go out and try to ride it. I remember when I was a kid and we had our first Max train in Portland, and we all as a family drove over to the Max station to go get on the Max and ride the Max because it was called Max. I mean, you got to ride it, right? It's fun. And so I think there's some opportunities here to really grow our service and touch new lives if we have the door open to them, and it becomes intriguing. So this will be a process. It'll be a process, but we'll begin moving forward with this, and I think things will start to look good. We got jackets ordered for the drivers. In fact, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, I'm going to be looking at proofs in person, and we'll start seeing how it really starts to apply. I think it'll be very fun.
Perfect. Thank you. So you'll let us know if there are any changes to the budget, but otherwise you're working on this, right?
Yeah, and I think that we can use the revenue from UCC to begin to start to implement the brand, and then of course we have all of our letterhead documents. The other thing is we're working with our web development company so that we actually have we're actually signed up for a beta test to be a beta test partner with the web company that we've been working with, and they've got a new CMS or content management system that they're unveiling, and we're actually testing that out. And I have seen the new look and feel of our website, and it's very, very cool. And we're able to direct how that works and how people engage with our website and with our brand. And so I feel like I'm pretty excited for that, actually, because I was like, oh, you're not fired. When I first saw went through the demo with our web company, and the woman who was leading us was very pleased. She's very excited. So I think, and I'm very excited. So I think it's going to be a great thing when we launch the new look of the site.
Perfect. And so you're going through then and updating social media and things like that to have the new logo?
We haven't done that yet, but we are starting that this week. I've also, I think it was Friday, I asked Amir to make sure that we have all access to our social media platforms. And I think we're going to do a little bit more planning tomorrow when I'm on location around the steps we're going to take to begin implementing. So I think this week you're going to start seeing some new looks, at least electronically, on our digital platforms.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for Ben? Jennifer has her hand up.
There you go.
Yeah, I dropped some information in the chat, but I just want to caution you that, and I believe I sent this back in November of last year to you all. The FTA does encourage you to produce revenue, but you have to do it competitively. So you have to provide opportunity for other folks. So you have to be careful that you didn't just go reach out to one person without advertising that you had this opportunity, because then that would be considered non-competitive for going out for getting that sponsorship. So I highly recommend that you read the circular 4220.1F. third-party contracting guidance, and it's got information about what you're supposed to do as far as doing that revenue, earning revenue on your facilities and your buses. So just want to caution you there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. In fact, we have opportunities. We have multiple buses, and this is one bus, and so the current website is very difficult to work with. It's almost impossible, not impossible, but very challenging. And so as we're not really, I mean, we didn't advertise this. They actually came to us. And they wanted to advertise. So we already have that program in place. I mean, you can come to us and advertise, and that's exactly what they've done. So, we're happy to put out an ad and say, hey, we can do this again.
Yeah, we have several advertisers that advertise, I think, just on a consistent basis with some of our other buses, but this is the first time that we're trying this new, I believe it's a new company, correct? That's doing the wraps.
Well, there's other companies we're looking at as well, because there's issues with the current wraps that are supposed to be transparent through Windows, and
I do remember you saying
there's expensive wraps that are more transparent, and there's less expensive wraps that are less transparent. We need the more expensive, more transparent wraps, but we're working with the art to make sure that blind spots for drivers are all clear and good, even if it's transparent. That's really key. So we I mean, in the private world, you would limit your exposure to mistakes by working with one customer, just like our web company is working with. They have a small group of beta customers working with them before they go live to the whole world. The FTA, I'm sure, has little experience with that when you're launching a new program, but through the talks with UCC is where this program developed. It was from, hey, that's a good idea. I think we can do this. I think we can help, and I think we can help establish this program, making our own contributions into that, into setting this program up. And so I don't believe that necessarily, according to our pricing, the UCC is not getting some kind of a special deal. They're paying what any other customer would pay under our program.
Perfect.
The UPTD is investing in getting the program set up.
So let's make sure that we pull that out of the chat from Jennifer. And maybe George can just take a look at it with you, Ben, and make sure that we're doing everything that we need to follow the procurement policy. I'm assuming that's what this is, what her concerns is falling under. John has his hand raised. Go ahead, John.
Hi. This question is for Ben. Probably he's the best one to answer it. But I was just thinking, had you thought about the overall strategy of who are we servicing? Are we forgetting about some of the lower traffic areas in the county? This is a large county, as we all know, geographical area. And, I talked to some of the people up in North County where I reside, and, they were kind of really disturbed in the past where the dial ride kind of went away from up in North County. I'm not sure what the circumstances were about that. But so I just think about, well, restoring that service. Would that be on the radar screen for North County, or maybe for some of the other more remote locations where the population base is much smaller? So I know you have to weigh all this, how much money you're going to throw at servicing, 50 people versus, providing service for, hundreds of people or maybe 1,000 people in the Roseburg area. Still, everybody kind of counts in an ideal world, right? And so had you thought about that? You probably have, just an overall strategy. Before you go out and you want to get money from somebody, have you thought out the plan enough in depth that we're kind of servicing everybody to start with? I mean, if you got all the money in the world, we could make everybody happy. But I just wanted you to think about that, and if you had any thoughts about where you're at with all that, I'd love to hear it sometime. I don't know if you had thought about that. So
Yeah, no, I think I know we used to have service in North County, and I think that obviously my goal, and I think all of our goal, is to expand service wherever possible. We had to go through contractions in service due to various things, but I believe it was budget issues in the past, or spending issues, and so to restore service back there from a dial ride standpoint, I think would be fantastic. One of the things that I was actually going to talk about this in the CEO report, but I can just say it now, is we've really isolated culturally. Culturally, UPTD is broken. It was broken when I got here internally. It's a mess, absolute mess. And we've really strengthened. My approach was, let's get the executive team strong and get the culture at the executive team and it really established and strong, so that it trickles down. And the first goal was to be self-correcting, and we achieved that wonderfully. In fact, I had a call a couple weeks ago with Suzanne, big boss at ODOT, Carlson, Suzanne Carlson. Wonderful phone call. Very, very, very great spirited. She was very cool. We had a great rapport, and she said, it's been so cool watching you guys attack this as a team, and being able to engage with the members of a team. And that spirit of teamwork, it was really impressive. She was super impressed by that. And we truly are more and more self-correcting, but we've isolated a lot of our cultural problems to the transit side. And so, George and I, and Andre and Sherry, we've all been really trying to wrap our heads around how do we strengthen the transit side, so that once it's strengthened and it's operating smoothly, then we can look at changing our routes or expanding into back into North County. And so that is really the next. We're right on top of it. We're now considering some changes to the organization, so that we can really start to resolve some of the problems that are just reoccurring on the transit side culturally. But I think we don't want to expand if we're having drama down there. So I'm looking forward to George has some good ideas and people have some really great ideas, and I'm going to sort of get out of the way a little bit and say, hey, you guys get this figured out so that I can get out there and get those relationships built. Because if we do change our routes, we have to work with the cities, we have to work with the county, we got to, on our fixed routes. But I can talk to, find out. That's kind of where we're at, right? We got to get that transit department shored up, and we're on it right now. That this is in progress. It is our next priority from our.
Yeah, I know you haven't had a whole lot of time to solve all these problems.
It's 90 days. This is the first 90 days. The end of this month. It's my first 90 days. So it's actually accomplished a tremendous amount. But I hear what you're saying. We need to get out there to North County. You're out in North County, is that right?
Yeah, it was just just the people that you run into and you talk to, and you tell me about the transit district and all this, and saying why the hell is our service gone from this area? And
yeah.
Let me check on that.
Hey, yeah, you're telling us that there's demand in North County for our services. We're gonna get it figured out, and we'll get out to North County.
Okay, that's good enough. I
Promise
appreciate that. Okay.
Okay, that's kind of a good segue, though, to our next topic, which is 9.6 Form Leadership Screening Committee. So if you guys aren't sure what that is about, our contract with Politigy ends in April. I can't remember the exact date. Maybe somebody has that in front of them. So Ben was brought on as our interim CEO, and that contract was for a 6-month period, and that contract is coming to an end. So we are looking to, we're accepting applications for the permanent CEO position. And we need to, hopefully, you guys will want to do this, form a committee, as we did previously, just for screening the initial applications that come through, so that we are, sort of determining who the final candidates will be, so we can conduct those interviews as a board. So I am looking for 3 volunteers who would like to be on that leadership screening committee. Is there anybody interested? Any board members?
What time is that? How often is that going to be?
It would be up to the committee to determine how quick or how often they want to meet. And, maybe you guys knock it all out at once, or, maybe you have a couple meetings. John was on that committee previously. I'm not sure. How many times did you guys meet, John?
I'd say probably half a dozen times. If you count the interviews and all that, or if it's just the pre-meeting stuff, it's probably only 4 meetings or something like that. It's not that intensive, but we might have an awful lot of applicants too, so it becomes more difficult. Anyway, it's I don't think it's too much for anybody.
Yeah, just thinking of scheduling.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
So the goal of the committee is not, it's not to choose who the next CEO is, but it's really just sort of a time saver, where a few people can be going through those applications. We received, a few previously that were just there. They were not at the qualification level, really for a serious consideration. So it's weeding some of that stuff out so that we have the right candidates to interview when the board's ready to do the interviews.
So I would be willing to help, but I just want to caveat that with, this is one of 4 districts I'm serving on boards with now. So I don't know what was.
I love it, John. I'm impressed.
You're getting busy.
This one, and by the way, all of the districts were screwed up. to start with.
You got experience. You're the perfect guy.
So I think I'd rather put it this way: if you need the help, I'll help. But if you have other folks that want to volunteer and fill up the committee, I could sit on the sidelines and just help. So let's just kind of see who wants to do it, who wants to be involved, and if you need my resource, I can always help. So
Perfect.
why don't
Thank
we
you,
just
John,
do
for
us?
volunteering.
How many do you need?
3.
3? Yeah, I'd be interested. I'll be we're going to start a graveyard shift. So,
Okay.
Okay. When do you sleep when you're on a graveyard shift? What's your sleep routine?
Well, basically about 8 in the morning until 3 or 4. So it's pretty hard. It's a tough shift.
Yeah.
Same with swing.
Yeah. Is there any other souls that want to help?
Well, I would like to know, can this be done over Zoom calls, or is this these meetings are they going to need to happen in Roseburg?
Nope, you can use Zoom.
No, I think they could. They're definitely
Zoom is
definitely
great.
Zoom. Yeah.
I wouldn't throw a whole lot of time in it. You get the applications and you can meet up on Zoom, discuss them, and
yeah. Why not? That's good.
Oh, okay. Are we going to actually meet the applicants then, or are we just going over their applications?
Well, we met them the last time we did this exercise. Yes, we met them, and then we kind of provided a report to the full board what kind of what we found. We're not the decision makers, but
right,
the full board is the decision maker on an applicant, but kind of get all the information together and start feeding it to the full board.
It's like a screening process. Yeah.
Well, I looked through the applicants that we had that came
Hold
out
on
with
just
the
a second.
packet.
I'm going to stop you for just a second. We can't discuss anything about the applicants in open session.
Oh.
Okay, but go ahead as long as it's not specific to them.
I wasn't going to discuss the applicants personally. There's quite a few of them. There's quite a few applicants. I don't know what I didn't count them. There must have been 10 anyways. Are there going to be more applicants, or is that it?
There could be more.
There could be more?
It's hard to say.
I would say
you might find that we might be where we look at all the people that have applied, and there might be just 15 people that are absolutely awesome, and or there might just be 4 or 5, something like that. You just don't know until you put the request for information out and you see who applies to that. And so I don't think. I mean, it's a pretty good job, so you might get a lot of applicants, especially with I hear that people are being laid off more and more these days. So there might be. It's hard to say.
Well, I would be happy to work with you guys in this committee, as long as we can do it on Zoom calls rather than a bunch of trips to town for me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I don't really, and I don't really. I'm not a geek, so I don't know how to even set up a Zoom call. So what I'm telling you is, I'll do what Todd Vaughn does, but I'm not going to learn a whole new lifestyle in order to do this.
Todd, I can set up a Zoom call. Are you calling me a geek?
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Fair enough.
And by the way, are you applying, Ben? I'm just out of curiosity. Are you
We can't talk about that in
part of
open
the applicants?
session.
No, I'm just.
No comment, Todd. I can't make this guy. I
I'm
can't
not talking about his personality. I was asking if he's going to be an applicant.
So you got.
I would recommend that we stop the conversation. To be quite honest with you, we do not want to affect anybody's chances.
I think there's another really good person for this committee is that we had last time. Whether she's available is Kathy. She was awesome. Her perspective on things is very good. So I don't know. Is Kathy still on the line here?
He is, yeah.
Okay.
I think I left.
Oh, I don't want to put her on the spot. I just wanted to acknowledge that she's
Well,
very
aren't
helpful.
you said it's 3 on the committee. It sounds like you guys have some real good people. You have a lot better background in this, I feel, than me, John, as far
Okay,
as
that's
coming up
fine.
with good.
That's fine. I was just trying to.
I mean, I guess put it this way. Well, I can't really do that.
Yeah,
If you're
don't.
finding as it gets close that you just can't do it, then let me know.
Oh no, that's okay. I think it'd be good because now we have the three amigos. So we'll be
Okay,
good.
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to keep this moving along, you guys, because we've already been
Yep.
doing it for 2 hours, and I know you guys don't want to spend all night on here. So,
You're on East Coast time too.
I know I am. It's late here. Late. Okay, so what is it called? What are we calling this committee? The Leadership Screening Committee. We have John Estel, Greg Kennerly, and Todd Vaughn. I'm going to appoint them to that committee with the support of the board. So can I get a motion to accept these committee members?
So moved.
Kathy made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Lisa seconded. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. Perfect. Passes unanimously.
Thank you, Tres Amigos.
Okay,
Looks
so
like Jennifer has her hand up, but I don't know if that's from before or not.
It just popped up.
Jennifer, go ahead.
No, I was just trying to find out if you have like a scoring rubric that you're using to score these candidates. Do you have certain criteria that you're using for scoring them? And then I have been on scoring committees for other transit agencies, and that's something that I would be happy to help with being on the committee.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we would welcome any information you have. Absolutely. Okay, Ben, did you give your full CEO report, or do you still have?
I could do it briefly. I mean, we've really touched on a bunch of this stuff, but we're almost 100% to goal of being compliant 100% within 120 days. We're ahead of schedule actually. And then some areas we're still cleaning up and patching up a little bit of missed stuff, but for the most part, we're really looking good on that side. We're no longer facing an imminent funding risk. That was one of the big things that we were facing when I began. We're spending within our means, as Sherry continues to report, and it's thin, but it's within our means. It's just slightly below our means, and that's really what we're doing. We're not a very well funded agency, but we're doing absolutely the best we can, and we're minding every single penny on behalf of the taxpayers. That is such a critical thing. I would say too that our culture's improved. I talked about that. We're really isolated. Sort of our the drivers need better service from us, and that's truly what I'm speaking about when I'm talking about culturally with isolation. With the troubles are in the transit side is because they need better service from us. And as a team, as an executive team, this is a top priority for us. To start to improve conditions and working conditions. We don't have a lot to work with, but there's a lot we can actually do to really start to improve the experience of our drivers. We're having turnover there, and it needs to be it's getting addressed right now, and it's an immediate issue. So we're all over that. I'm really looking forward to next meeting and reporting some big changes that we're making down there, and reporting about the effect of that, the positive effect of those changes. A lot of this stuff is you if it ain't working, you do something different, and that I don't like to do something that isn't working for very long. I learned that in my career. If it ain't working, do something else. Eventually, you're going to get to the right the right action. I talked about the conversation with Suzanne. I think that, going into the next 90 days, the Charger debacle is probably the next biggest thing that I'm personally taking on right now. As an executive team, we're moving things around to be able to allow me to do that. We've reached out to brokers, reached out to commissioner, we reached out to ODOT, just saying, hey, if you got anybody. And then we're also reaching out to Proterra, and I'm going to try to get somebody high up in Proterra and propose a deal that it would be hard for them to refuse. We're going to take a hit on these chargers, but at least whatever we liquidate from those chargers, we're going to make if we get an imminent sale, we're going to immediately crunch some numbers and make a proposal to ODOT to get that $250 repaid. And whatever chunk of cash that we get from the sale of those chargers is going to go straight to ODOT, and then the remaining balance is going to get cleared up. So ODOT's flexible in this. Obviously, they've been wonderful in terms of dealing with the fact that that this is, this is just an issue that we have to be able to make good on our end, and we're going to make good on it. And so they've been patient with us through this process, but this is something in the next board meeting. I hope to report that those chargers are sold, and that we're on the up and up on that side, because at that point the district faces literally the only risk we face financially after this being resolved is federal funds getting cut to ODOT, and I think that resolution is a good move to maybe hedge that bet, and let's just see where we're led. But in 90 days, it's been a crazy 90 days. I've learned a lot. As everybody complained in the media and around town that dude coming in has no experience. I now have experience, and it's good. But I also have incredible people around me, with George and with Sherry and Andre and now Amira giving support to me in the executive team. We're in a very strong position right now. I really like our team, and so I have full faith in them, and so that piece of it is really, really strong. We trust each other. We've got great relationships. So these things are all very, very good things that weren't here when I got here. There was no relationships and there was no team, and so that's a big, big, big deal. Trying to think here, just over the next 90 days, we're going to continue to focus on diversification of funding. We're going to continue to build coalition within the community. I think we're going to start seeing that ramp up as we move toward that 6-month mark, which is the ending of the contract. I really want to make sure that we are in a strong position. And as we're moving through that first 6 months, I think the triage stage will be over, and then it becomes, where do we go from here? And that's those are the kind of questions I would like to leave the board with within 6 months of my beginning. But I think we've been extremely successful. I take no credit really for the success, other than the fact that I've done a few basic things to allow people to shine and to take ownership and take charge of their responsibilities and have freedom and responsibility to get the problem solved. And so we're able to do that right now. So I think I think things are pretty good. I can't really complain at this point, but there's more work to be done, immediate work. So that's where we're at.
Thank you so much, Ben. I think we all really appreciate all the work that you put into this, and for strengthening our relationships with ODOT and with all the employees. We definitely see the teamwork, and we're better off than we were before. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, but I want to make it one thing that I think is so important that is stated is that when I first started, I told everyone that it wouldn't be me that fixes it. It's going to be you. And the credit really does need to go to our leadership team, Sherry, George, Andre, Selena. I mean, these people have been incredible, and they fixed it. Okay, it wasn't me. They fixed it, and they did the hard work, and the dedication. I've rarely worked with people. I never expected to come into a government agency and observe and see the dedication and the effort and the sacrifices that this team has made. It's really incredible.
Thank you so much.
I got a question for Ben.
Okay.
Ben, how would you rate the morale amongst your drivers right now? That's something that's important to me because that's the part of the workforce where I've lived my life.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. The morale there is extremely low. If you were to say it was a 0 to 10, 0 being like Guantanamo Bay, I would say it's like a 4. It's unacceptable. And the problem is, I would say that the reason we're at this point right now is it was probably a 5 or less when I started. It was probably about where it was. But as time, 90 days for people that are under pressure, that are getting their needs met is a very, very long time. George, I got to say this, the radios is one of the biggest issues. The district prior to us arriving here purchased $60,000, $70,000 system for radios that never worked. George actually got up and solved that, and Andre and George worked together to get this done. But last week we actually got resolution. George had a conversation with the CEO of the radio company because it got elevated. He escalated it all the way up to there, and they're going to fix this. They're going to give us new equipment, and they're also possibly going to write us a check to get some money back. And the problem with the radios were that the signal was actually too strong and it interfered with first responders. And so they had to turn the signal down on our system. And so there was nothing, no one was ever working on it. It was just never, it was purposely reduced to not interfere with first responders. And so we have a new system that's not going to interfere with first responders, and we're going to have excellent radio communication. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest complaints that we have from drivers is the riders. There's a lot of, Oregon is facing a tremendous drug problem, a tremendous homelessness problem. That problem is in Roseburg. Okay, no town in this state is immune to the policies coming out of Salem. Okay, and so when you got drug addicts and criminal elements on your buses, they have a security problem. Now, I've reached out to our drivers. Do not know. They do not have de-escalation training. They do not have any level of security training. I've reached out to someone I know that is an extremely good security expert, and I think I'm just discussing with them, and we'll go through the procurement process, however it's defined. But we need to have security training for our drivers so that they'll have confidence in dealing with situations that occur, because the police aren't there. We don't have verbal judo training from Jennifer Borbett. It's really, really important. And so I think that as we begin to focus on the transit system itself, I think we're going to be changing sort of how it's managed, and that's where we're going to begin. And we've also begun implementing training. We've had weekly trainings for our drivers, but we don't have security and de-escalation training, so we need to get this done. Oh, I love that, Jennifer. Yeah, I think it's super, super critical, because then they'll feel confident if someone gets out of control to be able to just bring it down. Okay, good. Now go be over here. I got you. I understand. Instead of being like back at it, and I really feel like that's a big piece of it. So yeah, I think that I think it's low, but I think we can improve it. I know we have answers. We know what we need to do.
Well, I like that we're going to be investing in our drivers. I think that employees, feel valued when there's an investment in training made to them.
And I got to tell you, in the last 90 days, the vast majority, almost all of our executive attention and resources have been spent on compliance. We're literally serving. It was actually kind of heartbreaking to watch that fire burn in that department while all of us are focused on serving ODOT and serving the FTA. Yeah. It's fascinating in a government agency. This is one of the things I've learned, that we spend probably $300,000-$400,000 a year just on serving other government agencies, and that needs to be doged. But we're there, okay? And we're also got to remember that we're looking at 4 years of racked up non-compliance. And so we have a huge ball to unravel, and that ball's unraveling. We're getting there. It's going to be a lot easier moving forward. So I don't want to say like, oh, it's ODOT's fault or it's the FDA's fault, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's just taken for the last 90 days a tremendous amount of resources and focus to get where we are right now, compliance-wise. And you explain it to the drivers, they don't really care. Their pants are on fire. Fix this. George had a big victory getting this solution on the radios. The drivers are going to love this. He actually came down too and did 2 all-staff meetings with all the drivers last week. And I think that improved morale. I've done one. George has done one. I think it's really key. So, we feel the same way. It's so important to get this thing dialed in. It's really, really key. And they're getting new jackets like next week. They're cold. Not next week. Just in time for spring, which is always kind of spring in Roseburg.
Okay, we're going to move on, you guys, to not on agenda. If anybody has any items that we did not put on the agenda, feel free to raise your hand or unmute. Nothing? Okay, then we will move on to our final public comment period. This is public comment for anything not on agenda. If you'd like to speak, please either raise your hand or turn your video on and raise your hand, or put a comment in the chat with your name and the city that you live in, and I will recognize you. Jennifer has her hand up.
I just have a quick comment. I'm really excited about everybody wanting to improve, but I also want to remind you, as far as going too far out on your skis, as far as starting new projects and new routes, you want to make sure that you're really planning those and that you're strategic about it and that you have the public processes in place and that it's part of your compliance or your coordinated health and human services plan or your transit master plan. And then that's where you guys kind of got ahead on the fixed route. It's important to serve all of Douglas County because your district covers Douglas County, but just making sure that you're doing a lot of really good planning before you get started on that. And talking with some of the other transit folks like Scott and Julie Brown and Paige and Edam in Rogue Valley, because they can provide you with some great resources as far as how you go about implementing those changes. So just wanted to get that out there. But I'm really excited about, the stuff that you guys are doing moving forward. So I am always like the Debbie Downer, and I don't mean to be Debbie Downer or Karen
You're
or something
saving
like
us.
that. But
That's what I was just thinking.
Debbie Downer.
No,
Hey,
we
no, you're good.
appreciate you, Jennifer.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. I agree 100%, just so that you don't feel like a Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
I'm just here as the Jiminy Cricket in the back of your world.
We couldn't have gotten here without you, Jennifer. We appreciate you.
Yeah, we do appreciate it. Okay, I saw Jay Lee with a hand up. Yeah, can you introduce yourself, just your first and last name and your city?
Absolutely. So my name is Janelle Lee, and I don't actually live in Douglas County, but I'm in a partnership with Oregon DHS. And some of the folks in the room will remember that we gave a presentation a few months ago. But what I wanted to share with y'all is that there's a very exciting transit project happening in Lane County, where they got money from the federal government to, the community is Bethel or transportation, and it's targeted at getting children to school. There's a particular transit term for it that I'm not remembering what it is, but as part of my
Janelle, I think we keep losing you. Is it just
I
me?
work in Douglas. We'll start having
Is she cutting out?
so
Yeah, she's
just a program manager, and I think it would be great to have representation from the Umpqua Transit District on their implementation team to learn what they're learning about this new model, because I think it could work well in Douglas County because of the challenges with smaller communities at various distances. So I'm happy to share that information, and I would encourage you to reach out and see if somebody on your team could be part of that implementation team to learn what they're learning for future implementation in Douglas. That's all I wanted to share.
Thank you very much, Janelle. Yeah, if you could email us some additional information, we would be happy to look at that and consider appointing someone. Oh, Ben just put his email address in the chat, if you can see that.
For some reason, I'm on my phone and I can't quite get back to the chat, but I will find you, Ben, and I will share that information with you.
Find me.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. I think that may be it for public comment, just because I don't think we have any more public on here. Okay, so we are going to move to agenda build really quickly. We're going to go into hopefully a brief executive session right at the end of this, but let's go through our agenda build really quick. So we'll have our normal minutes and preventative maintenance report. We'll have ODOT update again from Jennifer, and the financial report by Sherry. We'll have public comment for agenda items only again. We are going to have to do our Title VI LEP policy again next time. So let's put that on there with the ADA policy as well, because those will be separated out. Then we don't have old business on here. We may need to do old business. Well, let's create old business next time under bullet point 9, and we'll revisit the budget committee again, and hopefully we'll have those 2 dates in April for our budget committee. We also will need to review any applications for the budget committee. Let's see. Let's also put under old business, we'll get an update from our leadership screening committee if they've had an opportunity to review any of those applications by that point. And then under new business, let's see, what did we have? Ben, you were going to provide something. What was it? Did I write it down?
If you find out, let me know. I feel like we hit everything, but
No, for next time for new business. You were going to provide something. What was it? Okay, I'll try to think of it. I'll reach out to Amira if I remember what it is. Anything else that we need to consider under new business or old business that I'm missing? Let's go ahead and put under old business. Let's also put any updates on our executive order resolution. What was that number? Resolution 2501 that Sherry gave us. We'll put that under old business again. Okay. Anything else to add? No? Okay. Do we have anybody from the press joining us right now? Please identify yourself so that you can stay if necessary. Okay. All right. So we are going to move into executive session. I have to read this. Give me just a second, you guys. Going to move into executive session based on ORS 192.6602B to consider the dismissal or disciplining of or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, individual agent who does not request an open hearing. ORS 192.6602H to consult with counsel. That one we're not doing. We do not have counsel here today. ORS 192.6602I to review and evaluate the employment-related performance of the chief executive officer of any public body, a public officer, employee, or a staff member who does not request an open hearing. All right, so at this point, I am going to ask that anyone who is not on the executive board, please move into the waiting room. And those who are invited back to speak to the board, I will move you back into the main meeting when we convene executive session. So if at this point you guys can move yourselves into the waiting room.
I'm not sure how to move into the waiting room.
That's fine. You're going to be part of this.
Okay.
I think for most of us,
Hold
Michaela,
on.
we have to leave and then we have to call back in on the link.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I can move you. I can move you, I think. I'm going to stop the recording though in just a second. Oh, move into a waiting room. There we go. Okay, let me stop the recording. Maybe. Oh. All right, I think we have everybody back in here. So it's what time is it? 8:10 p.m. where you guys are. We are going to resume regular session. And with that, there is no additional business to be accomplished today. So we are going to go ahead and also adjourn regular session at 8:10 p.m. Thank you all so much for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Michaela.
you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.